Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. Okay, today on our Simply Business podcast, I'm really excited to have a very interesting guest. Honestly, when they booked the owner of a gymnastics academy on the podcast, I thought, what am I going to have in common with this person to talk about? But business owners, we always find things to talk about. So, Shannon Wickel, welcome to the podcast. You are the owner of Kentucky Gymnastics Academy. Tell us a little bit about how you came about being the owner of this organization, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I didn't really set out to own the gym. It kind of happened. My daughters were students at Kentucky Gymnastics Academy, and the founder, Ingrid Bojanowski, and I became friends, and she enlisted me to do some coaching for her because she found out how much I loved kids. And so just kind of over a 5-10 year period, I got more and more involved in the gym. I had a daughter that continued into the competitive team. And Ingrid was getting older, and God love her, and had a conversation with her about, what are you going to do with the gym, Ingrid? You're 72. And she just very nonchalantly said, you should buy it. I was like, oh, I don't know. Thought about it, went home, prayed about it, talked to my family about it, and just decided that I did not want to see Kentucky Gymnastics Academy close after Ingrid had built it up for 30 years. So we made the decision to buy the business from her. And at the same time, I also decided to build a brand new facility. And my banker actually said to me, I've done asset acquisitions and I've done real estate construction loans before. He goes, but I've never done one together with anybody. So I said, well, go big or go home. I don't know. So all in one meeting at the bank, I signed documents to acquire the business and start a construction loan on a brand new facility. And that was in 2014. So this is my 10-year anniversary of owning Kentucky Gymnastics Academy this year.
Wow. Congratulations on that. You're kind of what we call the accidental business owner, right?
Yeah. I mean,
some people set out
for kids, but I love children. I love teaching. That's where I get my just joy from. My drive is seeing kids grow and learn. And when they make small goals and they achieve them, it's such a high for me, because success is measured on what the kids want, not what I want for them. And that's something that I see every single day in my gym, is all the small goals and successes of kids. And it's just very rewarding. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's the same feeling I get when a business owner one of my clients has success and shares it with me. And it's that feeling that coaches get when we see our student or our athlete or whoever we're coaching, see them excel.
Absolutely.
So, that's cool. So, because a lot of people, they set out in life. I mean, I just interviewed a guy this morning. He knew from, 20 years old, 18 years old, he knew he was going to start a business. He just didn't know what it was going to be yet. I mean, he was all about having a business. You were just kind of the opposite. You weren't even thinking about a business, but you saw something that was very important to you. And you realized that the only way of saving it was to step in and be the owner.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. Didn't know what I was doing, but by the grace of God and a lot of hard work and lots of educating myself, here we are. So when I bought Kentucky Gymnastics Academy and we moved into this building, we came over with 250 students, and that included our team and our recreational students. And my roster right now is sitting at about 800. So,
wow. So you've tripled in 10 years.
I have. And, surviving COVID, which totally killed us, obviously, like everybody. So to bounce back after COVID and having to shut the gym down for 3 full months and not sure where, how we were going to land, if we were going to even be able to reopen our doors, because nobody knew what was going to happen. I find a lot of just pride and joy.
Yeah.
And when I some days hit hard days here and I think, oh my gosh, how are we going to make this work? I just always think back to you reopened after COVID.
Yeah.
So I can do anything if I could survive that and my business still be here. So,
Yeah. I think there's a unique group of us that, there's some businesses that went through COVID and really weren't impacted. And then of course there were tons that
yeah,
closed shop. But when I talked to someone like you, and I had the same thing, I lost 85% of my revenue in 1 week,
yes,
and just, you know, just people, because it wasn't that they were just like, hey, we're being shut down. We can't really be spending money anywhere,
right,
and
right.
it was just, I couldn't argue with them. I understood.
No,
And but to bounce back from that, like I said, a few months later, the bounce was huge. Did you find the bounce to be almost instant and huge?
absolutely, it was because there weren't any other opportunities for kids and
Yeah,
families because all of those activities, schools were shut down. Their children had nowhere to go for physical activity, but even more importantly, for social interaction.
right.
And so being in the gym, we had to follow a lot of protocols and guidelines that were mandated by the state of Kentucky of how we reopened and what that looked like. We did reinvent our business and the way that we did business and the way we offered our lessons, and we still practice a lot of those things still even today. And it's been a really good turn. It's kind of weird to say that COVID was good for us, but it did force us to think outside of the box of what was the
Yeah.
normal practice for a gymnastics academy. And we changed our business model, and it's actually been a really, really good thing for us. So I am grateful on some level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird thing. And, I was just having a similar conversation. You don't ever want to hope something like that happens. We're not celebrating that, but uh, there are things that came out of that. Like you said, better practices,
Mm.
Zoom, and
Yeah,
as much as I don't like being on Zoom calls all day long, but boy, it's so convenient when
right.
you want to meet with somebody that's, say in the next state,
Yeah,
further away, and you can't
right.
can't meet in person. To be able to do this instead of an old fashioned phone call,
Hmm.
or an email chain, it's just, that's one of the things that came out of it that makes us more efficient, and
Sure.
hopefully have better products.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think so. 100%. I would agree.
So in those first few years before COVID, you built a new facility, you took took on a lot of debt. Uh, what uh, what were some of the surprises being a new business owner? Even though you knew a lot about the business, there had to be some
Oh,
surprises that.
well, I mean, I thought this was gonna be easy, ha, ha, ha. And I've said all along that I raised 4 children. My husband had a very demanding job, so a lot of times I felt more like a single mom, but that was a cakewalk compared to running this business. This has been much harder than I ever imagined, but also so much more rewarding.
Yeah,
Learning about bookkeeping. I was not a bookkeeper. I mean, that was something that I had to learn how to do. So I had a lot of personal growth and education along the way that I don't want to say it was surprising, but I think it did kind of go into it a little bit blind. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, oh, I teach cartwheels. How hard can this be? You know,
yeah,
and Ingrid would always say, and I love her dearly. She's from Germany. And I would say, Ingrid, I don't think I know what I'm doing. She goes, oh, I didn't ruin the business. You'll do great. So she's like, you're going to be wonderful. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
yeah,
On her a lot though, a whole lot. Made most of my decisions were for the first probably 5 years were never made without her guidance and advice, and just slowly transitioning into running everything myself. But I don't know. As far as surprises, I mean, I think I didn't realize how hard staffing would be. I'm
yeah,
these people that if I say I'm going to do something, I follow through, and I probably follow through at 110, 120%. And so I would, staffing and hiring people, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great. They're going to be like me. And a hard fact is that people just aren't.
yeah,
Their commitment level is not the same. So me learning how to inspire our staff, and get
yeah.
excited. That takes a lot of extra energy on my part, and I'm happy to do it, and I love doing it, and when I see them get engaged and participate and wanna be here all the time, then I know I've done a good job. And
Yeah.
then they feel, less than 100% engaged. I have to look at what am I doing that's not
Right.
creating a positive work environment for them. So
Yeah.
that was something I don't think I expected to have to be a cheerleader for people. But I think being a business owner, I've learned that when I walk through that door, if I don't walk in 100% on and happy and engaged, and yes, let's go get this day, um, that what I walk in with is what they reflect.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And
Yeah.
and I've noticed that if I'm having a bad day or I'm feeling frustrated because it's something that's totally unrelated to the office or the gym or what is personal. I mean, it's hard to separate
Sure.
from business. I mean, it's very difficult. And I wear my feelings on my sleeves a lot.
Yeah.
The days that I'm struggling, I see it. And so I've had to really learn to take a deep breath before I walk in the door and say, okay, I'm now here to go after my business. I'm here to go after the
Yeah.
kids, to go after the staff, and how do I best support them? And I
Yeah.
think that was something I didn't really think about when I bought the business. And I think that's all things you probably learn along
Yeah.
the. So that was always just trying to be.
That that challenge of always being on
Yeah.
is difficult, and um, you can't really fake it either. Faking it always shines through as faking it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all hit those ruts. But when I'm truly joyful, the environment, the culture here is amazing. And
Yeah.
just I have to I'm always it's a daily thing of reflecting and just trying to make sure that I am living and existing in peace, because when I come in here in a peaceful spirit, everything runs smoothly. And when I'm chaotic, everything is chaotic.
Yeah. So
So
what do you do? What's your practice for when you? Because we all get that way,
yeah.
and we have a bad day, we have a bad moment. A client cancels on us. Just anything, whatever might happen, and just
Yeah.
it can create this tailspin in your head, and you can get
Mhm.
into a bad rut. What do you do to kind of get yourself out of that?
Gosh. I mean, I'm a very prayerful Christian woman. And I think a lot of times I just take a minute and breathe and reflect on what is my real mission and purpose here. And what is it,
Yeah.
and, what is God's plan for me? What is God's plan for this business? And I really do. I just sit for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I might do it in my car before I even walk in the door.
Yeah.
But that's the one time that I'm truly alone, because the minute that door opens, Shannon, 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 oh, Miss Shannon, let me show you that. I'm like, that's great, and that's what I'm supposed to be. But I think I take that time just to breathe and go, okay, come back home. Don't let
Yeah.
the noise. And Ingrid has always said to me, Shannon, just for today, just for today. And I'm like, that's right. It's just for today. It's just this hour.
Yeah.
And we will worry about tomorrow. We will worry about this afternoon, but let's get through right now. And
Yeah.
not trying to eat the elephant all in one bite,
Right.
I
Yeah, I
think.
use that phrase all the time. There's so much rights to stuff I'm working with clients with all the time. I mean, one of my favorite podcasters is Ed Milet, and he talks about one more day. Just getting through one more day, and he has a very personal story about that. But I have clients, having a rough day, and like just get through one more day.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a Friday, just get through it one day. Let the weekend get here, and let's reposition on Monday and see where things are.
Well, and I think too, I'm a pretty, the glass is half full all the time for me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just having that positive mindset, that positive attitude, that there is always something that we can learn, that we can grow from. There's always something good that comes out of every interaction, and
Yeah.
really trying to focus on that and not looking at like, oh my God, this was terrible. They said this, they said that. I'm like, but let's step back and understand and look at what were they. I know what they said, but what did they really mean? How were they feeling? Where did that come from? And I think when you can get through that, like seeing the actual, they say I can't see the forest for the trees. Well, let's really look at what is going on. And I think that's just always been who I am. I'm not a negative person, and I'm always, oh, it's going to be great. And I do really believe it. I mean, it might be
Yeah.
hard, but yes, at the end, this is going to be great. But let's figure out how we get from point A to point B, and
Yeah.
take the time to grow through experiences and situations, and not just go through them. And I don't know where I heard that one time, but it's just that's so just for me just says it all, because you grow through every experience, but being able to identify and see it, and embrace the growth, even if it's hard or it might set you back a little bit, you're still growing.
Yeah.
I think that's for me. I guess that's how I kind of begin every day, is I'm
Yeah.
just grateful to have the opportunity to be here, and grateful that I'm going to have the potential to have some positive impact or interaction, whether it's a family or an athlete, or even a staff member. Like, how do we make today better by just a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I love you said, 10 to 15 seconds just to breathe and reflect. Most entrepreneurs could learn to add that to their daily routine. I spending some time in prayer, meditation, whatever.
mhm. Whatever it
Yeah,
is for you, that you find that time to just be at peace and at one
yeah,
with
be
where you
still.
are in the moment. I think it's so important, because that's when you can block out the chaos, and you get rid of all the junk in your life
Yeah,
and day, or what's facing you, and just let's really look at what the mission is, what's so important. What are we really trying to do here?
yeah,
And what am I trying to build a huge gymnastics academy? Yeah, probably. Do I want it to pay for itself and be successful? Absolutely. But what I'm really trying to do is to create a difference in a child's life. And
yeah,
that when they leave here, they say, man, that was great. I don't care how many medals our athletes win that are on the competitive team. I don't care if they go to college on a scholarship. If that's their dream, that's amazing. But what I care about is when they're 20 and 30 years old, and they're talking about their childhood in gymnastics, and they remember KGA, and they say, that was a great place to be. I felt accepted. I felt loved. I felt supported, you know, whatever. I want them to say, that's where I want my kid to go, because they remember the experience. They don't remember the actual gymnastics class or the
right.
meet. They remember how it made them feel. And
Yeah,
that for me is, I think, what at least for me as the business owner, and what I try to instill in everybody, that's our mission. That's our goal, is that feeling of they want me here. I matter here. I am
yeah,
important here. Because many kids don't get that. They go to school, there's that social media impact. And, I had a child growing up, and well, one of my own children, that was just profusely bullied in school. And the social media did not help, because it can get away from it. They come home and they see their friends going to parties or doing this, and she was never invited. And so there has to be a place for kids that they can just unplug and disconnect from all of that, and they're just here in the moment. And we don't
yeah.
have that other stuff, and they're valued and they're important, and they feel successful, because that's what I think we all innately want and need as,
Mhm.
as human beings, is that feeling of inclusiveness and value. So that for
Yeah,
me, goal and mission here at the
yeah,
gym, what we
yeah.
do.
You're grounded in your purpose, and it comes across just. I mean, it's throughout this interview,
Uh,
you've just gone back to it over and over again, and you know that's what gets you through the hard times, right?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Because I just came back from a conference, and we used we talked about the 4 P's of entrepreneurship, and it was purpose, preparation, pace, and persistence.
Yeah.
And I think you've kind of hit on all of those. you know, uh, I hear, after going to this conference, I hear the 4 P's every time I'm talking to an entrepreneur, because
Oh, yeah.
you're obviously on purpose. You talked about the preparation, everything of doing the research and doing the finance, how you're going to finance everything, and
Mhm.
that's all preparation. Um, let's talk about pace. We haven't really talked about that much.
Uh,
How do you manage? You mentioned your husband had a busy job. You were raising 4 kids, so how do you manage that pace of life? I I don't use the B word, the balance word.
Yeah,
I don't believe there's such thing as work-life balance, but
no,
I do think there's an alignment. There's a proper pace that we can be at that, and for every person, it's going to be different. For some people, it might be 50 hours a week grinding, and others, it might be, hey, I want to work 25 hours a week and
yeah.
spend more time with my kids. Um,
I think it's ebb and flow. I mean, work-life balance. Sometimes you work more, and then sometimes you have a little less personal time, but there's a season to everything, you know.
yeah,
And so I don't really I don't put a number on it. I honestly, I try to carve out some time for myself. Like I've got some issues with my knee. So it's a priority for me to go see the PT, So I'm making
yeah,
time. That's a me time because that's my self-care. Um, but I'm probably not the best one to answer this because I really just I do what has to be done. And if it takes longer, it takes longer. Am I joyful when it doesn't and I have a little bit of time? I love to play tennis and so I really do try to at all cost 2 nights a week. I leave the gym. I'm like, I'm going to play tennis.
yeah.
And that's a me time that has nothing to do with my business or my gym. But I actually do find a lot of networking opportunities playing tennis. So I'm glad,
Sure.
even though I'm not at the
We,
tennis,
as entrepreneurs, you never turn it off. It
you
just,
never stop. No, but I do.
but it's great. You're finding at least 2 nights a week. You're going, you know what? Business is a backseat. Uh,
Yes,
yeah,
it is. And then on Sundays, I hold Sundays pretty sacred. The gym is not open. We don't run any activities here. I mean, we're doing an open house this Sunday, May 4th. And so we do reserve it. But by and large, Sundays for me and for our staff is the family day. And I very rarely try to impose or staff or, do any opportunities because I think everybody needs that time just to breathe. And when the gym isn't open, I actually can turn it off because there's nobody in here. I don't have to worry. Is somebody did they answer the phones? Are they late? Did they unlock the doors? Are people standing out there waiting? So
yeah,
I think being closed that one day a week has really been helpful for my mental health and just the well-being of everybody. Um, so I don't know if
yeah.
that's a fair answer.
No, it's great, and it's a weekly Sabbath, whatever, however you take it.
It is. Yeah.
Finding that time. Yeah, it took me a long time out because I always say my office is wherever my backside is, wherever I'm sitting, wherever I'm sitting, that's my office.
Yeah.
And when that's the case, your office is always there, and it's very
It,
tempting to open up the laptop and work.
yeah.
And I've gotten a lot better at shutting that down and not doing as much of that as I used to.
Right. Try not. Sometimes it's nicer if I like my son who's a senior this year, if he's been sick, I can take the bills home and pay. But I really have tried, and I did in the beginning when I first bought the business, I'd be on the computer at 2 a.m., at home
Yeah,
because the kids were asleep and the kids were still living at home. They were little. I mean, Adam was 8 years old, 7 years old when I bought the gym. And, I still had kids that were middle school, high school. So I was still very much the active mom and still coaching. But then when everybody went to bed, that's when I got on the computer. And that's when I was putting in, setting up the management software and doing all of that. And I mean, my emails went out to parents at 2 and 3 a.m. I mean, I just didn't sleep and, you know, drank pots of coffee. Um, but I have, as things have settled and I have a really great staff, I have a wonderful general manager now. I've been able to offload a lot of those things. And
yeah, it
but again, that takes time. That's not something
does.
that coming in as a business owner, and especially a new one who had never owned a business before, like I had a huge learning curve. But finding the right people that can share your mission, share your passion, and that you can trust. Take
Yeah,
time, but once you have it, man, is it magic. And the lady, young woman, beautiful, amazing person that is my general manager, is really my right hand. And she
yeah,
is why I have quality of life now because,
yeah,
I was easily 50, 60 hours a week in the gym at home. I mean, I just, like you said, I never shut it off. My husband would say, are you going to stop sending emails? It'd be 10:30 and I can't because if I
right.
now it's going to be 5 on my plate tomorrow. And that was hard. Um,
Yeah.
so I think
And that's the
selling
grind of every new business owner,
it is, it is, and I think
and
you have to do it. I mean,
yeah,
otherwise you don't know. And I feel like I don't ask anybody to do a job that I haven't already done myself.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I've been that way too, and
I
you
just
know,
lost.
it's one of those things. Young business owners or new business owners or people who are aspiring to it, they have see this kind of sexiness of being a business owner, right?
Yes.
They don't realize that you're you know for lack of a better analogy, you're the one also cleaning the toilets and
I know.
and doing everything else.
The toilet gets stopped up. Guess who they come? Shannon, the toilet stopped up. I'm like, okay, let me go get the plunger. And here, come with me. Let me show you how this is done. You
Yeah.
know, I'm going to teach you. So next time I might not be here. And it's the same thing with the vacuum cleaners. I know that's such a silly thing, but gyms, gymnastic academies specifically, we kill vacuum cleaners. There's this always on Facebook and club owner groups about what vacuum cleaner do you use, because it's just horrible. All of our surfaces have to be vacuumed, but there's chalk in the air. You got kids, you got their hair. I mean, it's just a hot mess. And so I fix the vacuum cleaners. They're like, Shannon, this is broken. I'm like, come here, give it to me. I get down the floor and fix it. I'm like, here you go. So yeah, it's
The yes, the regal life
right.
of a business owner, right? Sitting on your throne.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally
Uh,
and figuratively.
so we've talked a lot about the past and
Yeah.
getting the business established, and your story's just so spot on from what I hear. Uh, Talk about kind of the future and where you're going. I know you've got some exciting things in the works. So you haven't. I mean, you've tripled the business. Oh, yawn. Let me go. Let me go build something else. So
Well,
tell us
yeah,
about that.
I I purchased 30 acres of land almost 3 years ago now, with the aspirations to um, build a new gym. And so networking and talking to our clients, and I would see parents running like, I've got to drop Susie off because I got to take Joey across town to football, and seeing these parents and just moving and running. And I lived that life. I know what that was like with 4 kids. And a lot of their clients, or my clients, I'm sorry, were going to friends of mine like Justin Green, who owns Underdog Football Agility Training. And Justin and I are friends, and he does stuff for us in our gym with our team, teaching them how to muscle load and run correctly, which is a really, you wouldn't think you have to teach somebody how to run, but you really do. If you're
Hmm.
going to engage those muscles properly and get the most power out of your movement, that's not a natural thing for most people. So teaching them how to load and unload and all of those things. So I talked to Justin. I said, Justin, I know right off the top of my head, 5 families that are running from my place to your place and your place to my place. Have you ever thought about doing something all under one roof? And so it was just these conversations with other sports entities that I had relations with my children, taking them for private lessons or group lessons or whatever. And so it just began a conversation. So I sought out to find a location that we could bring all of these people together. And the biggest purpose and main mission behind it was quality of life. Because as a mom, if I could bring one child who's doing gymnastics, my other child wants football, my other one wants baseball, what if I just come to one place and now they can do all of their activities? I can sit as a mom or a dad or a guardian caregiver and just breathe. I'm wow.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of that journey. And so I found 30 acres. It's a beautiful piece of property. Bought it without having the zoning completed, so it took a year and a half. At that point, the zoning, we have our conditional use permit now on this land to build a multi-sports complex on South English Station Road, right there at the kind of the junction of Taylorsville Road and the back end of Jefferson County. Um, and super excited, but of course the economy got crazy and the build almost doubled the cost to build. So we had to put the brakes on. So I have been kind of sitting on it, still with the intention and plan to build this brand new facility and bring all of these other entities on board. But in the interim, again, I'm like, okay, but we got to do something now with this property because it's costing me money. What can I do that's low investment but still really has a huge impact? And so the brainchild out of that is our new summer camp. It's called Camp KGA, Kids Great Adventure. And it's a farm. it's the farm was built in the 50s. So what does that make it now? Almost a 70-year-old
Mhm.
farm. And one of the original people in Jefferson County. I bought it from the Gilliland family, and there's a road named after them, Gilliland Road, that's right by the new Echo Middle Trail School. So we rehabbed everything, and we're opening June 2nd. I'm moving my current summer camp that I've had at KGA for 10 years. That's always had a waiting list out there, and we can now not accommodate 30 kids a day. I can accommodate 200 kids a day. So we've
Nice.
really been able to just blow the top off of availability and accessibility, and still offer the same quality and trust that parents have always had with us as Kentucky Gymnastics Academy. But now we can have it even bigger and better.
Yeah.
So still offering gymnastics there. We have one of the uh, barns, if you will, that has a concrete slab floor. So we've gone and we've cleaned everything up and painted, and we're bringing gymnastics equipment out there so they can still have that experience. But there's also a 2-acre lake that's stocked with fish. I just put 1,000 fish in it 2 weeks ago, floating down. Water slide, trampoline. They can kayak, they can fish, they can swim. They're pouring the pickleball and basketball courts today. So that's
Wow, nice.
a 60-foot water slide. There's an athletic field, not to the scale that we'll have once I get the whole facility up, but still a small athletic field for organized sports. Arts and crafts. We have converted the old tobacco barn into an animal barn, which I'm so excited about, just because we're able to repurpose everything that's there.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
reuse and give it new life. And Ray Gilliland, that I bought the property from, I am just waiting until we're done, because I'm so excited to be able to let him come watch and walk through his family farm and see it with the same face, but just a whole new purpose. And I just can't wait. I think in probably 2 weeks we'll be ready that I can call Ray and invite he and his family out and say, let me show you what I did. Like, I'm emotional. I'm sorry. I'm just like, oh.
That's all. Well, you are a person connected with your passion and your purpose so much, and you can just see it and you can feel it. And I love that. I love that about you.
Uh,
And
it's crazy. It's not connection. I'm crazy. Right. Yeah, I know I am a little crazy.
well, to somebody to people who don't understand what you're doing, yes, your passion seems crazy, right? But if it doesn't seem crazy, it's probably not really passion. There's something to that, I think, and I hope I said that in a way that made sense. That
I
yeah, most there's some statistics. Something like 75% of people want to own a business, but only 3% do.
Actually.
That I've always thought that gap, that 72% of people are people who think of it as this fancy, glamorous thing.
Your own business. Oh, wow. You must be rich. I'm like,
but they don't understand that it takes passion and grit and grind. I mentioned the 4 P's at that conference. We came up with about three or four more P's that go along with it, like prayer and patience, and
oh,
it,
you can't force anything. And that's the other thing I think I've really learned is, as much as I want to go from A to B in 0 to 10 seconds, it doesn't happen that way. And if it does, it's probably going to fall apart.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure, and wishing you nothing but success in the next phase of Kentucky Gymnastics Academy. So,
thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for coming on the program.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.